This is the guidance film for Booklet 8 of the GCSE Germany 1919 to 1945 history course taught at Plymstock School. As you can see here, it's Booklet 8, it's the last booklet, and it will be examined along with Booklet 7 on opposition. Where they burn books, they will ultimately burn people. Thomas Mann, philosopher, predicting what would happen in Germany, having seen the burning of the books that we looked at when we studied propaganda. Hitler made it clear in his book Mein Kampf that he was anti-Semitic and that he blamed the Jews for Germany's defeat in World War I. Their role in the Weimar government and the Wall Street crash of 1929 he also believed was clear. In his book he suggests that killing the Jews as well as other elements of German society would make Germany altogether a stronger country. Once in power, Hitler now wants to control the German gene pool along with every other aspect of life in Nazi Germany. And although he will bide his time and even then carry out the Holocaust in secret, his ambition from the outset, as mentioned in Mein Kampf, was to destroy the Jewish race. As Ian Kershaw says, the road to Auschwitz was built by hate, principally Hitler's hate, but paved with the indifference of all the other Germans. Hitler was not elected because he was an anti-Semite. Hitler was probably elected because of how he promised to deal with unemployment and rebuild Germany's self-esteem. But most of those people who voted for him would have known of Hitler's anti-Semitism. Okay, so we move through the booklet. And as you're aware of all the other additional resources available to support this booklet. First race then on the master race. Match up the definitions on the left with the statements on the right, identifying the key terminology for this booklet, and then what were the key characteristics of the master race. Simple closed activity. Pull together in your own words what were the ideal physical features of the Germans and what were the ideal social features of the German likes. Moving on. So who did not fit into the master race? Now we know who did not. Each of these groups be able to explain why they did not fit into Germany and Hitler's perfect society. What is it about what they do, what they are, and what they represent that makes them outsiders? Activity 3. Would you have fitted into the master race? A reworded test undertaken by students in Germany to determine whether or not you would be sterilized and able to contribute to the master race or not. Pulling things together, which is the odd one out for each of these particular sections. Lesson 2 then, the master race. What is going on in the picture and why? Link it back to education, link it back to concepts like eugenics that we studied when we were looking at life in Nazi Germany. Once we have the feedback, revisit your answer. See if your learning has been expanded by what your peers have told you. In the next task, what we're going to do is take a look at how, on this graph, Hitler's responses to groups in Germany escalated as we move across the time of his term in power. We will see this with the Jews as well, that Hitler's responses to most of these topics to do with race were gradual. They were incremental. He escalates his response to these groups as he becomes more and more sure of his power base within Germany. In the short term, he bides his time. Lesson 3. The same approach, but now specifically looking at the Jews in Germany. Again, we will see how Hitler escalates his approach. He was elected to deal with economic and political issues, but his social issues, his anti-Semitism, is put on the back burner until he's sure he can get away with it. Why did he not still start killing the Jews when he came to power? Why did he feel the need to build up the process? Clearly based on the fact that most Germans did not vote for him because of their anti-Semitism. They didn't vote for him because he was going to kill the Jews. He only starts this when he knows he can get away with it. So what are the origins of Hitler's anti-Semitism? Using the textbook, please tell me why it is that Hitler and other people have historically resented the Jews. Using the textbook again, I want to know what Hitler does when he does it, so we start plotting out a graph that shows how he gradually escalates and turns the screw on the Jewish population of Germany. Practice question on the Kristallnacht of 1938, which is significant as it is the first time in Hitler's treatment of the Jews that he uses violence. Everything has been legal, a process carried out with the law until this point. Then we look at the road to the final solution. At what point in this story can we start to envisage that Hitler will carry out something like the Holocaust? Storyboard, please, that particular activity. Then analyze. In what ways were the Nazis' treatment of the Jews changing between the years 1938 and 1945? How is that different between 1933 and 1937?